Hi. Well, I made it back to give you the second post. Um, I'd like to say something about the thumbnail that I chose. You'll notice that my mom's hair was long and she was slender and a lot like this. So, for a future post, what I'd love to do when my hair gets a little bit longer, I'd like to do the sugar bowl. Mom never wore her hair that long when we were growing up. She always had it about right here, and every night she would roll it up in little pin curls. Later on, she would use foam rollers or something like that, and she wore the sugar bowl. So that's a retro thing that I would like to play around with. I've already tried to do that, but my hair was just too short. Anyway, that's way off in the future. Uh, Bear with me. I'm trying to, you know, really get ready for this one. It's hard. Okay, so mom lost dad 18 years ago, but uh, this wasn't long before he passed. This is when he was still living not too far away from where we lived before we went over and helped him pack out of their house and sell it and uh, move. They tried to find a place near us, but they couldn't find the right place, so they went to live with my near my brother. So, and this kind of just shows that both mom and dad, as beautiful people as were, they were struggling very much with their weight until mom was, working fewer hours. She was a little more slender because she was a nurse and she was walking the floors, and she probably walked about 4 or 5 miles a day. So, anyway, I can still remember mom when we'd go camping. She'd scamper around wearing those pedal pushers and just lively and energetic, fixing food for us at the campsite, getting up early, making coffee over the fire and or the camp stove, um, helping pitch the tent, helping take the tent down, taking me out in the woods in the middle of the night, go potty. She was really a sweet, energetic person all of her life, and even toward the end, before she seemed to she came down with vascular dementia after having a few many little mini strokes. She was helping to cook my brother and his wife food and even do the shopping. Sometimes when I was living nearby, I would help her go shopping and I'd drop her off at the door, but she was able to get from the car to the front of the store quite easily by herself. And she was walking the halls of her memory care place right up into the night that she passed away. So, but mom's story, a little bit different than my dad. And I've already done part one for my dad. If you want to go back and watch that one, it's about 11 minutes long. But mom, she was pretty healthy. She did come down with diabetes at one point. The way we found out is that she pricked her fingers on blackberry sticker or something and got real infected. She ended up in the hospital and she actually went into remission. And later on, after I don't know, her mind wasn't quite working right, she forgot that she had already had diabetes and went into remission. It was like there was a little bit of denial that changing your diet can help you go into remission, but you'll always have that tendency, I suppose. I don't know that we can say that I'm not going to be the one to say that you can totally cure diabetes. You just have to find out for yourself. I guess every person's different. Um, so anyway, mom she tried. She really did try to eat right and take care of herself. She believed in the vegetarian diet. She went to cooking school for vegetarian, classes. There was a class once in a while in church on how to cook vegetarian. She bought vegetarian cookbooks, and she was vegetarian right up until the to the very end. But vegetarianism didn't set too well with me. I think it really affected my health. I really, really struggled with my health. So mom's decline was more like uh, she had a stroke. You know, um, ended up in the hospital. So she was struggling with things like cholesterol, the wrong LDLs. She must have had the small, version of the LDLs floating around in her bloodstream. Um, but of course, she had plaque, or that wouldn't have happened. So her decline was more from the combination of sugars and fats. That's how her body reacted rather than getting a heart attack or, heart trouble. So that's where her problems led to vascular dementia. So the last 3 years of her life, she had vascular dementia and ended up in a memory care facility. So, but before that, um, she started to really decline as far as she would lose weight and couldn't seem to keep her weight on. She, bless her heart, she had a lot of diarrhea and it was not predictable, which was very distressing to her. And it curtailed some of her activities that she liked to do. Uh, she would go to the potlucks after church service and she would eat, kind of a broad combination of foods. And so I used to tell her, well, Mom, I think it's because you ate too many combinations of foods. But what I didn't realize was that she probably had, and you can look it up, it's SIBO, SIBO, and a small intestinal, forget what it's called. I was going to write it down. Anyway, it's a problem with your small intestine where you don't have the right bacteria in your gut. And that's where it all begins. If you don't have the right bacteria in your small intestine, everything's going to go wrong in your large intestine. So, a friend of hers seemed to have similar symptoms, and she eventually died, and which was a real blow to the family because she would always come over and play cards with mom, play Rummy Q and all that, and another friend too. So, um, but mom would always go. I don't know whether pardon me. I don't know whether it was, I think it was every other year she would go for a colonoscopy, and they could never find anything wrong. And they prescribed a lot of things for GERD. She did find out years before that she had an upper GI problem up above her stomach that caused GERD. So she had to go on what do they call it, pump inhibitors, and she had to use Nexium and the purple pill and all of that. But as you can find out when you Google, you can find out that those cause additional symptoms. Sometimes, it's not worth the cure. So we got to find other ways to deal with what we're up against these days. So if you can find a way to avoid using any pill, go for it. Do your research. But this affected her her ability to absorb nutrients. And I don't know why, because she was a nurse and I knew from working in nursing homes that the elderly they used to be prescribed betaine hydrochloric acid and you had to drink it in a glass with a straw. Nowadays, as I mentioned, pardon me, as I mentioned in another post, you can get this in pill form. And as we age, we need a little bit of help with our stomach acids to absorb our nutrients. Well, what she ended up dying from was failure to thrive, which means that she didn't have enough nutrients. She was probably 89 pounds when she passed, and she gradually got colder and colder. And she ended up putting on 6 layers of clothes. They said they found her with 6 layers of clothing. She used to get up in the middle of the night and put on some layers of clothes, and I thought she was putting on her robe. I was not living in the same area, but she would take her walker and go up and down the halls at 3 in the morning. So, but I guess they found her at 4 o'clock in the morning, just sitting on her love seat, and she had 6 layers of clothes on. So, what I told my brother is I believe she was in heart failure. She didn't have enough blood to keep her warm. So that's why she just kept adding on more and more clothing. So as you progress in your life and you see that you're aging and you see that you're starting to develop the same problems that your parents had, you can interrupt that. I know that I'm interrupting some of the same things that I'm starting to see. I've got high blood pressure, trying to interrupt that. That could be anywhere from my dad's problem to my mother's problems. Um, I was having a little bit of GERD every night, but I never did really go for the pump inhibitors or the Nexium. Um, I just tried to change the way I ate the next day, and I did not realize that eating very late. Well, I knew that eating very late at night can cause that. So I would just try to eat within 3 hours of going to bed. And if I was hungry after that, I would just eat a cracker. So, but I was waking up in the middle of the night to eat a saltine cracker just to stop my stomach from gnawing on itself because I was finally just always hungry. I just had to eat every 3 hours eventually. And I wish my mother could see me now because I've lost a lot of weight. And she always was one to mention my weight, and which was, she pretty much said whatever she wanted to say. But she meant well, and she really did care that I would be healthy. And I don't think she realized what my dad was suffering from, and I inherited that tendency to always be hungry. So that's where the high carb diet comes in, and do your research or listen to some of my other posts, and I'll be talking more about that and what we can do to offset the tendency to want to snack all the time. I've got a lot of tips for that. And I've already gone through, since January of 2023, I've already gone through many, many changes in the way I eat. So, and I'll be talking more about something I'm doing just lately to switch or tweak the keto diet to fit my own needs. So stay tuned and please like and share if you want to, if you get a minute. All right. See you around.